Let me get this out of the way. RiME is a gorgeous game, both visually and orally. The art design and direction are stellar, the visuals remind me very much of something Studio Ghibli would make. The game is very colourful, the lighting and weather effects are spot on, and the animations play out exactly how you'd expect them to. The Killer Works did an amazing job creating a whimsical world full of ancient ruins, underwater caves, and Laputa Castle in the Sky-esque machines, and it sways all the way from being inviting and friendly to being downright daunting. It clearly takes inspiration from games like Journey, The Last Guardian, and the latest Zelda installation, and yet still manages to be something unique and unbelievably beautiful. The music serves perfectly to highlight the mood and fill in the blanks wherever the game itself falls short. Now, unfortunately, my high school literature essay ends there. As a video game, it fails at everything it sets out to do. We can debate the actual nature of the game for hours, but let's for starters assume that in terms of its mechanical complexity, it sits somewhere between Dear Esther and your average physics-based puzzle platformer. I'll now try to break down the mechanics to give you an idea of what I'm so unhappy with. Let's take a quick look at the Steam page. Besides calling itself an adventure and atmospheric, which it clearly achieves, it also claims to be a puzzle and an exploration game. Obviously, these are just terms to help the buyer find the game rather than an attempt at classifying it objectively, but the game itself does, without a doubt, nod to those genres. And I say nod because I wouldn't use a stronger word. All the puzzles in the game are trivial at best, and although it will surely differ on a person-by-person basis, I believe there's little to no challenge in the game in general. On your way to the next zone and the next bit of the plot, the linear nature of the title, which I'll come back to later, makes all the puzzles be less of a puzzle and more of a device to slow you down. Some of you might be able to relate if I say that all of the puzzles in RiME feel like that bit of the puzzle when you finally figured out the solution and are working your way through the steps, which, if overdone, tends to get tedious. A good comparison would be to say that RiME's gameplay feels like that part of a spectacle fighter like God of War or Prince of Persia, where you have to platform and puzzle your way through a chamber to get the next boss or enemy pack, only there's no hacking or slashing at the end of it. As a proper exploration game, it tries to use its mechanics to entice you to explore the world rather than going straight to the objective. Only almost everything in this game is weirdly enough designed to discourage you from doing just that. The levels are incredibly linear, and most of the time, when you think you found a hidden path, it turns out to either be a gated part of the level or a path to a prerequisite for further progression. And that brings me to the main problems with the game. Despite building this amazing, seemingly vast and huge world, it only lets you explore that one little bit of the game at a time. It constantly gates you from going back where you came from, and it punishes you for going off the beaten track by creating dead ends, both of which are topped off by having a completely uninspired collectible system. There are 5 categories of collectibles: outfits, toys, emblems, lullaby, and keyholes. The only one remotely relevant to the plot is the keyholes category, where you look inside keyholes to unlock pictures that tell the player what happened before their involvement in the game. Outfits, despite being a nice addition, don't have any direct or indirect effect on the gameplay. The lullaby lets you collect seashells to make up a melody from a series of tunes by the end of the game. Whereas toys and emblems, that are the easiest ones to come across, have absolutely no purpose other than being another collectible in the player's way to 100%ing the game, and a mild annoyance when you make an effort to actively explore the game, only to find something that doesn't even expand your knowledge about the world. The actual plot of the game is spoiler heavy, and frankly is not something that's relevant to this discussion. I personally enjoyed it, but I can see how people's opinions on it will range from deep and profound to corny and uninspired. So, now that I laid out my argument, I want to ask you this. If the mechanics are this poorly executed, is there any reason to include them at all? Wouldn't the experience be just as impactful if we took out all the pointless bits and made the main and only focus of the game be the plotline? Why distract the player with minor annoyances the whole game if they don't add any actual world building or gameplay value and just stretch everything out? I would go as far as to say that this would be a better Disney show than it is a video game. And don't get me wrong, I didn't go away from having played the game feeling like I wasted my time. It was a pleasant experience that I'm very glad I had, but it was a very bad video game. I'll leave the experience/walking simulator versus video game discussion out of this video because it's simply too much to take on at once. But I'll be more than satisfied if you at least walk away questioning the direction some of these games are starting to take, putting all of their eggs into the cinematic basket and neglecting the very foundations of the medium itself. This has been Accept. Thank you very much for your time.